Action! Welcome to another episode of the Action Podcast. This is episode 10. Episode 10. Yes, I did write it in my paper, so I know exactly what episode this is. And today we are going to be reviewing the classic masterpiece, some would say, The Karate Kid. Not a lot of people are going to say that, but it's a classic. It's not a masterpiece, but it's a classic. Karate Kid is directed by John G. Avildsen of Rocky fame and was written by Robert Mark Kamen. And this starred, of course, Ralph Macchio, Pat Morita, Elisabeth Shue, William Zabka, and Martin Kove. And a little brief synopsis. Oh, first, before I get into the synopsis, let me introduce my panel of experts.
Yeah.
These people know 80s movies more than anybody. And of course, my brother to my left, Peter Escarcega. I have to my bottom left, Peter Busch. And my bottom right, I have Jake Fenske. These both were on the original Action podcast, which we reviewed Top Gun. And if you haven't checked that one out, please click below for that one. And but yeah, so we'll get right into it, guys. Then we'll go into our initial thoughts from this film. Definitely after rewatching. I don't know when the last time you guys watched it, but we'll go into that very, very shortly. But so what I did here is there's like 12 synopsises, and I just took the one that made me feel the best in terms of like how it read across. So
seems like
you're the best
personal choice
around.
Yeah. So Daniel LaRusso has just moved from New Jersey to Reseda, California, a neighborhood in Los Angeles, and is finding it hard to acclimatize. That's not a real word. Whoever wrote this one.
It's red squiggly on mine.
Even pronounced right.
Well, it's supposed to be acclimated, but yeah, this is on IMDb, so it's on IMDb.
Why would you pick the synopsis that you couldn't pronounce the word? Like,
well, I didn't. I skimmed through it. I didn't like do like a spell check on it.
Why? That's not even close to a word. Acclimate.
I know.
Acclimatize.
Well, I mean, obviously, this person's not going to be a writer growing up. So
Daniel had the clitoris-sized.
Yeah. But anyways, so
this is just starting off really great, right, guys?
Yeah.
Rough.
He has promised a swimming pool and a beautiful house, but when they get there, it's anything but nice. He meets a beautiful blonde girl, but encounters a gang of bullies who make his life a living hell. This further dampens Daniel's spirit as he just wants to go home. And he's continually bullied and is afraid to show his face around high school. Then he meets mentor handyman, Mr. Miyagi, who takes the naive Daniel under his wing and shows him that karate and life aren't all about power and strength. It's something deep within your soul that makes you what you are. Daniel is the underdog and faces the biggest challenge of his life. Win! And he can rejoice forever, knowing he beat the bullies. Lose, they'll never let him forget
it. Not bad.
I
mean, that was the best one. So there's some terrible ones in there. That was the best one. You can look on imdb.com for these little plot reviews, but they're actually kind of funny. Some of them are pretty bad. So yeah. So why don't Pete, you start with Pete Escarcega. Why don't you start? What does this film mean to you? You know, give us kind of your earliest memories of it, and what does it mean to you today?
Oh, well, this movie was one of those movies where, like, I was sick a lot growing up, and I use the excuse all the time that I just
can confirm that, by the way.
Well. I just don't. Oh my God, Mom, I just don't feel well, and she'd be like, "Okay, well, maybe you just stay home." But why don't we go to Blockbuster or the Warehouse and get a movie, and then we'll go to McDonald's, because that's great for you when you're sick, to eat at McDonald's. And you know, Karate Kid was one of like 5 movies that I would always rent. If you know, this was before I recorded it, and then I could just watch it like every day. This was one of those movies growing up that I always watched and loved. I know all the music by heart. I know the words by heart. And when Cobra Kai came out, I got so nervous that it was going to just be so awful, but they really, really carried it on so great. It's it's really great to see it continue. Now I can't wait for my daughter's watched the first one and she loved it because she's a good girl. So I want her to watch like more and more and more, and then eventually get into this series. But the Karate Kid was something that was instrumental in my growth. I watched it all day, every day.
Nice. Peter Busch, why don't you follow that up if you can?
Yeah, that's tough. That was good. It's a classic, right? But I felt like when I first watched it, I remember watching it as a kid, feeling like I was watching adult movies. Not like a porn, but like not an animated movie or a Disney movie, right? It just felt like an adult movie with adult themes. Like I enjoyed it for that. It was like watching Back to the Future, just fun, lighthearted. You kind of get the plot's not deep enough that as a kid you got into it. You're rooting for him. You won with him. Like it was good. It was good.
First time I've ever heard that Karate Kid was kind of like porn growing up.
Yeah, well, guys, I can already give a preview who's not going to get a point for their
Yeah, it was good. Great flick.
Well, Jake, good. Good luck following that one.
Yeah, I don't know.
Tissues.
I didn't have to walk through the adult section of the Blockbuster to pick this one out, but
the black curtain.
Yeah, the swinging doors.
To open up that curtain. Yeah. That walk of shame.
This movie is my favorite movie of all time.
Wow.
It's not the best movie of all time, but it is my favorite movie because I can watch it a lot. It hits me right in the nostalgia spot. And
where's that located, Jake?
Ask Pete.
I'm trying to keep this PG-13, right?
Yeah,
that's it.
Okay. But yeah, when I was a kid, my family moved around a lot, and so I spent a lot of time being new at school and making new friends, and my parents were constantly putting me in sports. So I really just feel this movie. It was part of my life. So yeah, that's why I like it so much. And I could watch it. You see it randomly on TV, and you could just sit there and watch it for the rest of the movie.
Did they ever put you in karate at all? Just curious.
No, I never did karate. They tried to put me in karate, but I didn't. Some reason didn't take with me. My brother did it though.
Yeah.
For me, it was mostly baseball and football.
Yeah, we did more boxing. I think we did more the Rocky route because we did regular sports, of course, but I think we went more. I remember we bought like the boxing stuff and all that, but I don't think karate because real karate, obviously, it's way slower paced than what they're teaching here. And so, yeah, I think kind of like Jake, didn't hit with me either. But I think for me.
Paul, do you remember? I'm sorry to interrupt, but do you remember when we were kids and Mom took us to that karate class at that one church, and we were the only ones that dressed up in like full gis, like we had black gis, and we were like super cool, but we walked in and nobody else was dressed up like that at all.
They're just wearing jean shorts, or like, what do you mean?
Everyone else had like normal street clothes, but me and Paul showed up like all decked out because we saw Karate Kid and we were ready to go. And I remember it being a disaster for some reason. I don't remember it. Really
for you guys, like the street clothes kids just beat the hell out of you? Like,
no, they didn't even dare. I mean, we were so awesome.
Yeah, no one ever tried to fight me. I mean, I was a big dude, so no one really tried to fight
fat
me.
and big are not two at the same time.
I wasn't. I was just with Paul.
Thank you for that, Pete Busch.
Ding.
Yeah, that's gonna be a minus point for Pete. On top of his porno section karate.
I'm already in the loser bracket.
Probably negative too.
Yeah. For me, it's definitely not as deep as Jake's there. It's probably more, I guess, similar to Pete. I mean, we watched this movie 1,000 times, and this is obviously, like, reviewing this film again, it's a little all over the place in terms of like some of like the messaging and all that stuff. But what I like about it is the music itself is just really good. There's some great individual scenes of acting that really work, and I don't know. Yeah, it just has a really great like rewatchability that, just kind of still lasts. And then being able to, obviously they made 2 sequels after this that, I mean, the third one's not as good as the second one, but I can still watch the third one at any time.
I can still watch
obviously
the third
Cobra
one,
Kai
too.
is next level. So yeah, this is just a great film in different aspects, kind of like Jake said, not a perfect film by any stretch, but enough really worked here that made this movie stick out. Because when this movie came out, I mean, not a lot of people thought, especially with the title, that this movie would be successful. I mean, it had an $8 million budget, ended up making 91 million. I mean, Roger Ebert ended up giving this 4 stars, and we've seen him give other films
Is unheard of.
Yeah.
Roger Ebert doesn't give.
Yeah, I was surprised when I saw that.
And I love what he said. He says, I didn't want to see this movie. I took one look at the title and figured he's either A, a sequel to Toenails of Vengeance, or B, an adventure pitting Ricky Schroeder against the Megaloth Man. I was completely wrong. The Karate Kid was one of the nice surprises of 1984. An exciting, sweet-tempered, heartwarming story of one of the most interesting friendships in a long time. And yeah, like I said, it's weird overall that it worked, but at the same time, there's a lot of elements, even looking back, you're like, yeah, that's kind of why it worked. I mean, so yeah, for me, it's definitely on the pantheon of films growing up, and was definitely excited that we were gonna put this on the list to watch. So,
well, in a lot of ways, it very much like in the vein of like a Back to the Future. Like there were certain movies in that time period that just kind of like captured that lightning in the model, especially like with the casting and then with the score. I mean, to get Bill Conti to score this film, and then all the music selections that they made, like everything just worked. Even the side characters and the smaller characters just had their place, and they pulled off those roles perfectly. It was super cheesy, but I mean, that's what made it work. There was a lot of heart in this film.
Yeah. And also, I think what adds to the heart is how menacing, like, Johnny is. You know what I mean? Like, he is legitimately a formidable foe. I mean, in every aspect, he is better than everybody, and it shows even. And he didn't know, the actor William Zabka didn't know karate going into this. He ended up continuing his teaching and became a green belt. But, sometimes you'll see a sports film or any sort of athletic film, and the main actor they'll have to shoot around him being able to do stuff. But I mean, he played the part, and he was an absolute dickhead. And then Martin Cove as the evil mentor, like, I mean, he's spot on in terms of just
frightening. He was absolutely frightening.
I think one of the reasons this works, I just watched it again last night, like all the themes that you tap into, like you've got sort of a father-son relationship and sort of teacher-student relationship. Miyagi lost his wife and his daughter. Danny didn't have a father. And then you tap into haves and have-nots with the relationship with Elisabeth Shue. Then you've got this like underdog story, like bringing out throughout the whole thing. So like it just, because all of that starts playing together nicely in the overall script.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's a 2-hour watch. It's a little long for a movie of the demographic I think they're aiming after.
Sure.
Right.
But it worked,
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people can empathize with the story. I mean, we all went to high school. We all, had crushes on someone. We all kind of felt like an outcast at some point. So like, it's kind of a universal theme that a lot of us can empathize with.
Yeah.
Although I didn't go to high school with a biker gang, though. That'd be probably a little bit different of my high school experience versus anybody else.
Yeah.
One of the things, before I forget, one of the scenes that and it really stuck by me, and this is the opposite of where it just felt like, I don't know, they had to end the scene or something, but after they get in a fight, Daniel sees Johnny kiss Allie, right, at the country club, and he obviously he gets all upset, and then he goes to golf and stuff, right, and he's he kind of goes off on her, and then he he talks about him being poor and all that stuff, and that's why you don't like me. And then she says, no, like maybe it's you have the problem, right? And she runs away. And then her friend kind of gives her what's up, like, oh, you didn't, he knocked.
You didn't stick around for the
thrilling conclusion.
The thrilling conclusion. Yeah.
And so she educates him on the entire story, and then he feels bad, and then he goes, and then he's just like, hey, slugger. Like that was his first line coming back. And then all of a sudden she's like, so you do forgive me? And she's like, okay. And I'm like, what just happened? Like, why did she forgive him so fast? Like there was no.
Yeah, but that whole movie was full of like this surface level tension that just resolved in one line, and just moves to the next scene.
Hey, slugger, I didn't know works. I mean, I'm going to use that every time I need to apologize to
him. Because she heard slugger and she slugged Johnny, so she got it. She understood that he all of a sudden understood.
Next time you get in a little fight with your wife, I want you to say, hey, slugger, and see how that goes and see how that resolves the argument.
Hey, it worked for Danny.
If somebody hit her and she punched him, but I didn't see it and I got on her case about it, then yeah, I could probably use that line. Probably.
Yeah, I just thought that scene. I just thought, in like it was so the crescendo of the argument was really good, and it was set up nicely, and then it just really just kind of, like I said, escape potted that one as a solution. It was quite awesome.
Well, you jumped to the director's chair, Paul, and what you would change about this film? You would obviously change that scene.
Yeah, I know. I just didn't want to forget. So.
we have a script here. That's what tell us.
Yeah, like, stick to the script. Stick to the
script on that one. Okay, so yeah, we'll do that part for later.
Let me go ahead and jump to the section where we say, "Hey guys, thanks you for being here, and we'll see you guys later." So
yeah, peace. Okay, bye.
Good podcast.
Just going rogue.
All right. Does anybody else have any other thoughts before I move on to our first list?
No, let's go forward.
No, let's go. Yeah.
Okay. Our first list, because of this movie, is going to be top 5 80s action films. And this is this could be a complex list depending on how you want to categorize things. There's a couple that I put on my list, but ultimately took off because they were more comedy-ish, and I was like, I don't necessarily want to include that. I wanted to kind of stick to mainly like some pretty heavy action type films. So we're going to start with you, Jake Fenske. You're going to lead this one. Oh, before I forget. Well, because I needed to award some points. So I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but now I award points to whoever wins each category, each list in each category. And the winner of whoever gets the most points gets to choose a movie they want to have reviewed as a group. And so that's what's at stake for today. And so the first category is costume / background. Now, obviously, I'm the winner because I'm the only one with a costume. So I don't get points for these. So obviously, I
wasn't encouraged to wear a costume. I didn't know that was a thing. I would have stepped up to the table.
Yeah, you and Jake actually started that with you guys came in hot with the aviator glasses. So we're like, we should do this for everything.
I used to have a Miyagi-Do headband.
Yeah, you wore.
I couldn't find it though.
That would have gotten you for that one.
That would have been
money. I get negative points.
But I'm gonna go outside box here. I'm gonna give Pete the point because his is the best looking background. It was a sneaky good one. Everybody has a good one, but
let's be honest, the best looking foreground.
Yeah, I enjoy looking at Pete's side of the screen more than anything right now. So, anyways, Pete gets 1 point for that. And then for the explanation section of why we're watching the film, we're not going to give the point to Peter Busch. We are going to give the point to Jake. I loved your story on why this works for you.
Yeah, you touched me, man.
1 point. So it is 1-1. Pete and Jake tied. Peter Busch
is to 0.
Trailing at 0. So, okay, now back to it. Jake, please give us your top 5 80s action films of all time.
Okay.
That doesn't make any sense. 80s action films of all time. It's just
80s. Of the 80s.
80s action films of the 80s.
Yes.
Of all time.
Okay.
In perpetuity.
So I don't know how we're classifying Karate Kid because I don't necessarily think of it as an action film. It's kind of like a coming of age
Pre-John.
So I didn't have it on my list, spoiler alert, but I will go through my top 5 here.
It's not on my list either, so don't sweat it.
Okay. So top 5 number, do it start at 5 or start at 1?
Start at 5. Yeah.
Okay, start at 5 is a I don't know if how many people know this one, but it's a Hong Kong John Woo action film called The Killer.
Oh yeah.
With Chow Yun Fat. It's awesome.
That was in the 80s? That was in the 90s?
89. 89.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
Out of the box, Jake.
Out of the box. Yeah. The others are kind of in the box. Number 4, I got Lethal Weapon.
Nice.
Number 3, I got Predator.
Mm-hmm.
I knew you would put that.
Sure.
By the way, I already know your number 1 is.
Okay. Number 2 is Top Gun. And number 1 I got, Pete, take a guess.
Die Hard.
Yeah.
I
How'd you know?
I was going to say Home Alone 2, but okay.
Home Alone 2.
I knew it. I knew you were going Die Hard. I knew it.
Yeah, number 1, Die Hard.
Yeah, that's a good list, man.
Thanks.
Okay, Peter Busch, let's get yours.
I got honorable mention to Die Hard, Lethal Weapon, Batman, quasi Back to the Future. I don't quite put it in an action category, but the reason those didn't make my list, they're great films. They're just, I classified as what I personally would rewatch. I generally like action movies for originality,
right,
and like really strong characters and stand on their own and could be sort of rewatched over and over again. So when I thought about Die Hard and Lethal Weapon, as much as I enjoy them, and Batman, I don't want to rewatch them over and over and over again. It's like a once every 5 year kind of thing. So
wow.
Die coming Hard, in,
bold take.
I'm just, I made a list and it was like 12 movies long, and I'm like, okay, I need to pare this down. So I came up with my own criteria. Bold so coming in at number 5, Red Dawn. Just enjoyed the heck out of that one. Number 4, Ghostbusters.
Did you like the remake, Pete?
I did not.
Oh, okay. I didn't see the remake.
I did not. Yeah, I did not like that. Number 4, Ghostbusters. Originality, just
tell them about the Twinkie.
Oh, you know what? I didn't even think about that as an action film, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I guess
Darn it. Can I change my list? Hold on, I got time.
Haven't gone yet. Yeah,
you got time. Number 3, I concur with Jake a little bit, Predator.
Mm-hmm.
I got number 2, Beverly Hills Cop.
Nice.
And number 1, clearly Rocky 4.
That's pretty good. It's hard to argue with any of those.
So good.
Rocky 4 didn't show up on mine. Oh, I'm gonna have to change mine too.
There it is.
I'm making my list.
Hey, when you're changing your list because my list is so dominant, I feel like that's already a point.
It's already an automatic point. You're right. Darn it. Well, I'm not going to change my list. I'm gonna hold true.
That's why your honorable mention. I came up with my honorable mentions because Jake mentioned a bunch I really like. So I have to throw them out there.
You guys really set the bar high on this one.
It's a great decade of action films.
It is, yeah.
So good. Yeah, my list was long but distinguished.
Good, Pete. It's a good start.
Thank you. Man. All right. Well, since Paul's not going to say it, I'll go ahead and give you guys my top 5 80s action movies.
Please do.
Thank you. Mine is very much more personal, which is the point, I guess, of all of this. Number 5 for me was the original. It's
personal,
Batman.
so this is my list.
Yeah, this is personal, so it's mine. Number 5 for me is Batman. I mean, it was such a
so good.
It was such a change for going and watching films, and the soundtrack and the music and the tone. I thought Michael Keaton killed it. I thought Jack Nicholson was insane for the time period. Now he seems a little bit goofy, but Kim Basinger, I was just in love with. Everything just kind of worked, and to get Prince to like do so many great songs, it was awesome. It was it really kind of changed my outlook on movie making. Number 4 for me is Top Gun. It was one of those movies like The Karate Kid that you just watched almost every day, if not every day. You watched it every other day with, my brother. And then the next 2 are from the same filmmaking, or not filmmaking. We'll edit that. So my next 2 are from the same franchise. Number 3 is Raiders of the Lost Ark. Number 2 is The Last Crusade. Last Crusade for me was so much better than Raiders of the Lost Ark because of the addition of Sean Connery and the humor that added to the adventure behind it. And number 1 for me, just like my man Jake Fenske, is Die Hard. It's the best action movie of the 80s. You can't top that. That movie changed so much in terms of how you approach action movies and the lead stars and what they do in a movie. It's brilliant. What a perfect list that I just belted out.
Your list is good. I'm not gonna lie. Your list is good.
Thank you.
So thanks to the power of editing, I'll give you my list. So number 5. So there was some other. We gotta give some honorable mentions out. Willow.
Willow in the top 5 list?
No. These are just honorable mentions.
The first movie you say?
No. This is honorable mentions.
I didn't even get a mention.
Willow, Conan. I like the story over Barbarian. Golden Child.
Golden Child is not really an action movie, though.
Yeah, it is.
Man, these are some stretches for honorable mention. What's honorable about these?
Like
Last
Conan the
Starfighter.
Destroyer more than the Conan the Barbarian?
Last Starfighter.
Terms of Starfighter is good.
Last Starfighter is good.
And then First Blood for Rambo.
Yeah. Okay.
First Blood. Yeah.
So my number 5, I'm gonna put Die Hard, and only because I agree everything Pete said. It is for filmmaking. I think it's great for an action film, and it might be the best made out of all of those.
Really?
My number 4, because I watch it more times than other ones, is Beverly Hills Cop.
Mm-hmm.
My number 3, I'm gonna put Top Gun. Again, for the rewatchability factor.
More of a military film.
Yeah.
Another great military.
my number 2, and this is really splitting hairs for me, but I'm gonna put Rocky 4 for number 2, and only because I literally the feelings that makes me have. Like, you put on the songs and I can literally just start working out. Like, I just get an extra surge of energy watching that, and
you just get more swole when you just hear the music. You just
the muscles grow.
God.
You just go full on Drago.
Yeah.
I'm huge.
And then I'll put number 1, and I put Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade because that's my favorite. But yeah, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones, just in general, I think, like I said, no one's been able to really replicate that formula, quote unquote, that they did. It just, Harrison Ford is just absolute magic, along with Spielberg, Williams, like the whole crew, Sean Connery. It's just absolutely incredible. So that is my list, and I do want to give.
Lovely.
Interesting. Not one of us had honorable mention or top 5 for any of the Star Wars films. Thought that was interesting.
I put those. I don't consider them action, I guess, but
I know.
that's
I
more
had
sci-fi.
Space fantasy.
Yeah. All mine are more real based. That's why I didn't put Batman either. I thought about Batman, but
Willow, real base.
That's real. That's real.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you're right. That's more fantasy, so I would take that off.
Yeah, good. We should.
Yeah. It's up there with Never Ending Story if we're going fantasy.
For future reference, whenever you're talking about honorable mentions, don't bring up the worst movie ever first. Save Willow for 4th or 5th on the honorable.
You guys don't like
mention.
Willow? I love Willow.
Yeah, Willow's it's nice. But
I didn't even finish it the first time, and I haven't seen it since.
Well, I'm gonna give Pete Busch the point only because both me and Pete switched our lists after Peter Busch. So
What
I
about
didn't
me?
switch my list.
oh, you didn't?
What do I get out of this?
No.
Now we're all tied.
The killer kind of doomed your list there, Jake.
Oh, come on.
Everything
Nobody
else.
knows.
Red Dawn. Have
Nobody
you watched Red Dawn recently? It's a terrible movie.
It's almost why Escarcega almost got the point there, because Red Dawn is definitely Peter Busch's weakest link, but
My top 5 is solid.
he had Ghostbusters, Beverly Hills, Rocky 4. I like better. I just didn't like the double Indiana Jones. I just feel like that kind of hurts your list.
Yeah, you don't like putting average movies on there anyway.
And then Batman is, I mean, it's an action film, but yeah. But I mean, Pete, you're right there, like literally like splitting hairs.
Yeah, but you're right there, but you didn't get the point. So
only because he changed my list. That's really the reason why I give the point.
But I didn't change my list.
you thought about changing it. You questioned the legitimacy of your list.
Yeah.
Roll back.
Doubt.
Roll it back.
Let's go back to the footage, guys. We'll check it out. Okay. So our next category, guys, is the Oscar go-to. And like before, this can go to anybody. This can be a crew member. This can be the writer, director, composer, whoever you feel is the unheralded or heralded winner of this film. And just for the audience, there was actually one Oscar that someone got nominated for in this. I actually never knew this. So I obviously in my research, I learned this, but you know, I've seen this movie 1,000 times. I never knew that Pat Morita got nominated for Best Supporting Actor. So for all you people that did not know that, he got an Oscar
Learned
nomination.
something today.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Who knew? Did you guys all know that though?
I did not know.
No.
Thought that I was surprised too.
Oh wow.
No, that was actually going to be my pick, but then I figured that would be a cop out to use the one that actually got nominated.
Well, and that's why I typically announce who the winners are. That way we can, you know, also highlight other areas. So we'll start. Jake, you went first last time, so we'll start with you, Peter Escarcega. Whose is your Oscar go to?
Yeah, I mean, the score for me was amazing. I mean, just the way the use of the flute in very key moments was very powerful for me. But I thought that, I mean, I love Bill Conti either way, and I would have given him the Oscar for this movie. I can't give it to any of the acting because other than Pat Morita, because the acting is all pretty awful, you know, in terms of like acting.
I think Martin Cove does a pretty solid job.
Yeah, he does a good job, but I mean, Pat Morita still kills it over him.
Yeah, of course.
I'm going score. Bill Conti. That's my.
I like it. I'm actually curious. Pete, can you look up while Pete Busch gives his answer? Can you look up who got nominated that year for scores? 1980.
Hey, hold on, I got it right here.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. Original score. Okay, so there's original score. Winner was A Passage to India. Nominees: Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom, The Natural, The River, and Under the Volcano.
Jeez.
Then they had music. Original song score was Purple Rain. Nominees: The Muppets Take Manhattan and Chris Christopherson.
Jeez, what's a horrendous.
Though I was looking through all of these, that must have been 84 was kind of a down year for Oscar-worthy films.
Right.
It was like all Amadeus and Killing Field. That's like it.
Yeah, but Bill Conti should have got nominated for a score over some of those other ones. We've never even heard of those other ones.
Fair.
Thank you.
Okay, so Peter Busch, who do you got for your Oscar?
Like I don't love this film enough that I have the respect for the directing, the acting, the writing that I felt was like at Oscar-winning levels.
Jeez.
That I
wow. You guys want a masterclass on how not to win a category?
So I think they got it right with Pat Morita. I would say the only thing that would be the writing, because my earlier point of all the different themes playing together, I think that was beautifully crafted. after rewatching it, and everything sort of has resolve in a very sort of, it's really interesting how they all build to the crane kick, right?
Yeah.
And like it all, like everything comes together to that one moment in that one match. And like, you know, the original point that Pat Morita had to Ralph Macchio was like, karate's about going all in. You don't go on the left side of the road, or you don't end up in the middle of the road. You go left or right, and you go all in. And it was like all in on that one move. So to me, if there was something else to award, it would be the script.
Yeah, actually, that's a good argument, because I was thinking the same thing earlier. I
mean,
like I said, in so many ways, this script is like, it's a tough sell. Like, it shouldn't work, but I think the script is good enough in certain parts to where it really, again, really makes the movie work, and it goes deeper than your traditional type of like film in this genre. Because we've seen the remake a couple times, and just it doesn't hit as much as this one do. And again, I think with the addition of that, you know, the drunken scene with Mr. Miyagi, there's such a beautiful written scene with, again, you kind of hear his backstory, why he's the way he is, you know. It's just, and it comes at just like the right amount of time. So yeah.
You know what's crazy about that is that I never understood what Miyagi was saying until recently, like, because I had subtitles. I can actually see what Miyagi is saying. I mean, early on, I would say for the first half of my life, I had no idea that he had a wife and that he had a kid and that they died in childbirth, because I never understood his drunken rant. Like, I never understood it at all.
Yeah.
I missed that part completely until like maybe 5 years ago.
Yeah. Well, Daniel reads the letter too.
That's all I heard. That's all I heard for that whole scene. It was like, Miyagi, that's it. That's all I understood. But then subtitles came out, and I'm like, oh my God, he's talking about all these like amazing things. And that was eye-opening for sure.
Yeah, and what's crazy is they were trying to cut that scene too. And they're saying that was a big part of why he got nominated for the Oscar. I mean, it would have, to me, it would have completely changed the film.
I feel like that scene solidifies the relationship between Miyagi and Daniel.
Yeah,
100% more vulnerable.
Yeah,
and, Daniel really buys into it at that point.
Yeah, 100%. Jake, what do you got?
And to Pete's point, real fast, I'm so sorry about the writing. You know, this writer he's no schlep. Like, this guy wrote The Fugitive. He wrote Devil's Advocate. He wrote Taps, which was cool. You know, it wasn't like the best, but it was still kind of cool. He wrote Taken. Like, this guy wrote like a ton of stuff. Like, he was a solid, legit writer. And
let's keep one thing in mind. That wasn't actually Pete's pick. He said no Oscar, and then he just kind of backtracked.
Don't worry, Jake. Don't worry. Pete's not getting the point. You don't have to worry. You don't have to slander another opponent.
I made my case.
All right, go ahead, Jake. I'm sorry to interrupt.
All right, my Oscar for Best Original Song goes to Joe Esposito and Bill Conti for You're the Best.
Nice. Very nice.
Because, yeah, it's the cornerstone of the soundtrack, and it's a great soundtrack and score as a whole. And that song still lives on to this day as one of the great movie songs of all time.
I read somewhere that was originally written for a Rocky movie, but then they didn't use it.
Rocky 3, yeah.
Was it 3?
It was for Rocky 3, and they switched to Eye of the Tiger. Like, imagine being
original.
Yeah.
Well, technically it still is. But imagine, I mean, you go from Eye of the Tiger, or you go from You're the Best to Eye of the Tiger. I mean, those are both like iconic songs.
Yeah.
Well, that was sort of my original. I went with score, but music supervisor was
Pete's trying to finagle his way back in.
Don't be like me. Don't be like me and try to scrap for a point.
Trying to change his answer because somebody else gave a better answer.
I'm not trying to.
It's getting old, bro.
I've already lost it. I get it, but
it's getting old.
There was no budget. For this movie, so they clearly had to get like the second-class citizens of musicians and artists for this feature. But meanwhile, the soundtrack is killer because they were able to get movies that just fit. I mean, Cruel Summer is like one of the best songs I've ever heard. Young Hearts, Feel the Night, You're the Best, of course. Even Moment of Truth. Moment of Truth, I don't know if you guys know this, but if you listen to the melody of Moment of Truth, it's actually the score that Bill Conti does.
You
listen to it? That. When you were known, right. It's the Karate Kid theme, and they wrote a song about it. I mean, this $8 million budget, they didn't spend shit on the songs for the licensing for these songs. They just picked some stuff that just worked, and it worked.
It's probably like $100,000 back then.
It's part of the magic of this film. Anyways,
yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. I'll take the point.
Well, Pete, a little too late. I'm gonna give my point to Jake. Jake just had a good, clean answer.
Way to go, Jake. Yeah.
So Jake is now up 2-1. The Pete's both have 1 each. As we enter our next category, which is the give me the Ari Gold Award for different casting. So there wasn't a tons of crazy casting stuff. I mean, it sounds like they kind of got mostly whoever they want. I'm just gonna read through a couple quick notes. Toshiro Mifune, definitely pronounced that right. Auditioned for the role of Mr. Miyagi, and he was great. He obviously was, I think, better with the actual martial arts, but it was too serious and too much like the Samurai Warriors. Played in Akira Kurosawa movies. Macho was considered for the role of Mr. Miyagi, but was committed to making Conan the Destroyer. He would subsequently play a similar role in Sidekicks, 1992. Solid film. The role of Daniel LaRusso was allegedly initially offered to Sean Penn, who turned it down because he was trying to do more adult roles. You know, so despite what Pete said earlier, Pete
one's in the back of Blockbuster.
Yeah, but then he goes and he's Spicoli in Ridgemont, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Like,
is that after this?
I think that was
Fast Times was 82.
Yeah,
that was before.
Come on, Pete. Check your
Sean
stats.
Penn's always like trying to be all serious and shit all the time. Just do a Karate Kid. What's the matter with you?
it would have been lame.
But Penn later said in an interview that he thought Ralph Macchio was one of the greatest living actors.
Wow.
Sean Penn.
Must have been like walking out of the theater.
Charlie Sheen turned down the role of Dan LaRusso, starring Grizzly 2, Revenge, a film they started filming in 1983 but didn't complete and release until 2020 due to several production and financial issues.
Oh my goodness.
I want to watch that now.
I know,
want to
right?
watch Grizzly. I need to watch Grizzly 1.
Yeah. Who else? Kyle Eastwood, Clint Eastwood's son, auditioned for the role. He didn't get the part, and so Clint Eastwood banned all Coca-Cola products on his sets because Columbia Pictures was owned by Coca-Cola at the time. And then these are all the actors considered for the role of Daniel. So what you guys are going to do is you're going to tell me who you would cast besides Ralph Macchio. Who would you cast? Okay. So the people include Sean Penn, Robert Downey Jr., Charlie Sheen, John Cryer, Emilio Estevez, Nicolas Cage, Anthony Edwards, C. Thomas Howell, Tom Cruise, Eric Stoltz, and D.B. Sweeney. So I'm going to start with you, Jake Fenske. If you have to recast this, who is your choice between those?
Well, first of all, I want to say I think Ralph Macchio is the perfect cast for this.
Yeah.
I
think we're on agreement.
No one
best actors of all time
portrays. Yeah, according to Sean Penn. I don't think any one of these other options could have portrayed the character the same way and done it the same justice. Like nobody is as awkward and obnoxious and funny and heartwarming kind of all at the same time. So I think that was the perfect cast. But if I had to recast, I would probably go with I don't know, maybe John Cryer or Eric Stoltz, like someone who is like a little like nerdier.
Yeah.
No, you can't get fired from back.
It's got to be, yeah.
Movie.
Because the character has to be kind of weak, right? Like kind of
weak,
and because you want to have the disparity between Danny and Johnny still. So if you throw someone in like Charlie Sheen or Sean Penn, they're going to completely just.
Yeah, because what is Platoon? This is basically Platoon Charlie Sheen, right? And he's kind
of. Platoon was 86, right?
86, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a little bit right before. Oh, so he'd be like 17 then, because I think he was 18 when he did. No, he was 20, so he'd have been 18.
Yeah.
Okay, Peter Busch, who do you got?
Yeah, similar to Jake, I think after looking through that list, like not a clear cut winner. But you need somebody that doesn't look like the leading guy, right? He's got to earn your respect. So I thought C. Thomas Howell had the look. I was looking him up, like what he looked like in '84.
Yeah.
And he had the look, like he's kind of like a good looking kid, but he's kind of awkward. If you look through like his filmography, he's not done a ton of stuff, so he's not really well known, similar to Ralph Macchio.
Yeah.
So it could have been like a breakout movie for him. I felt like he was the closest to Macchio.
Yeah.
That was me. That was my pick, and for the same reason. If there was one person on this list that had any sort of like, I mean, when he was Pony Boy with Ralph Macchio in The Outsiders, there was an innocence about him.
Yeah.
And he got fucked up, all the time. Like he wasn't the toughest dude. He just had people around him that kind of did the fighting for him. And I think he would have been able to show that sort of growth better than anybody on that list. So darn it, Pete.
Well, I'll give you both because that's actually who I thought of as well. So I'll give you both a point for that one because I'm not going to penalize Pete Busch for going first. But I'll say, in addition to going back to Jake's original point of why Ralph Macchio I think really worked was, part of the whole like juxtaposition they were trying to show here is, Jersey boy, fish out of water in California, and meets the blonde hair, blue eyed, and and Ralph Macchio is, got the Italian descent and, his Jersey mom, the whole nine. And so I think, a lot of these guys, none of these guys are real like Italian Jersey type guys that Ralph Macchio has that edge over, you know what I mean? And so I think that's what made him work even more because, you feel like he doesn't want to be there in the very beginning because, New York is just such a different place than California. And especially, when you're a darker haired person going against the blonde hair people, sometimes you do feel left out, like Jake was saying earlier. So, all right.
No,
so
both, before you sent out the list of like who was in potential for the casting of certain roles. Like I was like racking my brain, like trying to think like which character would I've actually like recasted in this movie. I think the only one that I ever came up with was Allie's dad. Like, I don't know, like he always just like rubbed me the wrong way.
Well, it's because he's a dick.
Yeah,
he is.
See the look on his face when
I thought you were gonna fix that.
I thought you were gonna fix that exactly.
Yeah, and the wife's like,
I
was. Yeah, like, is she about to go get beaten? Like right when they leave? Like,
yeah, he's about to pick up the brick and just take her out. Like,
yeah, it was so weird. I'm glad you guys brought that up because
he's dancing like with Allie. He's like, trouble with Johnny. Like he's just like so over the top, like that. I'm so rich and fuck everybody around me because I'm like so cool. Like I don't know, it was over the top. Like I get it, but I would have recast him 100%.
Yeah.
Just tone it down, dude. Like you don't need to like go so crazy.
Yeah, he was an absolute dick. And then I'll just read the other ones. We're not gonna do the other ones, but Helen Hunt and Demi Moore were considered for the role of Allie. Kind of the same thing we're talking about. Like, I mean, Demi Moore I think would have been a good choice, but because of the California blonde hair thing, Elisabeth Shue's a better.
The whole
choice.
world turns blonde.
Yeah.
Crispin Glover was considered for Johnny Lawrence. I don't see that at all.
Oh, that would have been horrible.
It would have been the worst.
And
George
then,
McFly out there.
I don't know who John Glover is, but he was initially cast as John Kreese.
Danny's brother.
It's who? Oh, jeez. Minus a point for that. Jeez. Okay.
I think it is. I wasn't kidding.
Are you being serious?
No, keep going. You're good.
All Okay, we'll cut that part out. Okay, this leads us to our second list, people.
Real fast. I want to give a pop quiz. Can I do that?
God,
sure.
Pop quiz. I think just based on how much I know that you guys know about this movie, I think Jake might be the closest to this. Can you name the other 4 members of Johnny's crew?
well, there's Dutch.
Johnny, there's Dutch.
I can't name 4. I can name the one that looks like Luke Skywalker.
I can name them.
All 4?
Yeah, it's
something Brown, right?
Dutch Bobby Brown.
There's Bobby Brown. Yeah.
And Bobby Brown is like, he's actually like a legit karate dude. Like him and the that guy in the semifinals. Those are like the 2 actual best like karate dudes.
So you guys have Johnny, Bobby, and Dutch so far.
But Tommy, and
more. He's barely in it.
It's the guy from Head of Class, right? He's in the back.
He's always in the back.
It's Billy, right? Is it Billy?
No.
Oh no, yeah.
No.
Jimmy.
His name is Jimmy.
Yeah. He's from Head of the Class, and I was like, I never noticed that. He's right behind me.
He's always the guy. Yeah, there he is, right there. Yeah, that's him. That's Jimmy.
He was in Head of the Class.
Oh, that's right. He was.
Yeah.
We always knew Johnny, Bobby, like, Tommy, Bobby, get him, and then Dutch was always like,
yeah,
he's always that dude. But then there's like Jimmy. I never knew about Jimmy. I never knew his name.
Dude, I'll tell you what, Tommy, I want to know if it was recorded live on set or if Tommy just ripped it apart in the ADR sessions afterwards. But like, if you listen to like any of like the final fights, he's just going like line after line. I mean, he's like,
oh, it's all ADR. He's just going nuts.
He's going nuts.
Like, yeah.
He imagine the sound guy like, dude, can you just chill back for a little bit? We're not getting any other lines here besides your lines.
Yeah. Turns into The Exorcist. It's like, it just like starts saying like the most worst shit ever.
That was so awesome. Yeah, I definitely noticed that this scene, like, and the funny thing is, like like I had mine on subtitles too, and the subtitles actually said it was Bobby, and I'm like, that's not Bobby. Like that's, yeah, it was. I just forgot his name now. Tommy. Okay, so top 5 martial arts movies. So we're gonna start with Peter Escarcega on this one. Peter Busch, are you still abstaining from this?
I'm abstaining. I literally looked up the list of the top 200 martial arts films. I've seen none of them.
Yeah, no, I went.
Oh, okay.
Maybe one, but nothing memorable. So I abstain.
So my top 5, I excluded your classic, like a real martial arts film. Like I didn't even add any Bruce Lee. I didn't add any Jackie Chan, like, because there's so many great like martial arts and kung fu movies like from 100 years ago that I've never seen before. So I kept it with what I know in terms of martial arts films.
I mean, that's fine.
Okay.
But your preface was horrible. So this is what I heard from you, Pete. So Pete, give me your top 5 martial arts films. So I excluded all martial arts films.
All martial arts films.
Like, what?
No, I mean, like,
yeah. Now I'm actually curious about your list because you like weeded everything out. No Jackie Chan, no Bruce Lee, nothing historic.
What do we get?
No Bruce Lee, like none of like the classic martial arts films.
Yeah, like, why would you want those? Why would you want the best films?
Yeah. All right, number 5.
I wanted to keep it more like the movies that I know that have martial arts in them that I've loved and grown up with. So.
Okay.
Well, Jake, you have a real good shot.
A lock for me.
Jake might just reading this one. All right, here we go. You sons of bitches. Number 5 is Best of the Best because it's so fun. It's like one of the dumbest movies, but it's so good.
Yeah, that one is. I like that one.
Number 4 is Bloodsport because who doesn't love a good kumite, right?
Yeah. No, that's a good one.
Right? Thank you. Number 3 for me is The Matrix. I thought that was cool.
That fits.
And super awesome.
Yeah.
Number 2 for me is The Karate Kid.
Okay.
And number one for me is Kill Bill 1 and 2.
And, those aren't the 80s though, are they?
We do
Say
it. We're not
80s.
doing
Oh,
the
no,
80s.
Never mind.
Wait, so it has to be in the 80s?
No.
No.
You're right. I got my list mixed up. No, you're good.
A martial arts and a military movie in the 80s with women.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, the list is not so bad, Pete.
It's not horrible, but I love Drunken Master. Obviously, Enter the Dragon is like the best movie ever.
Okay. I do have a question for you, Pete.
Yeah.
What was the ninja movie series that we used to watch all the time?
Ninja Master.
Ninja Master?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the one with he had like the mustache and the ninja stars.
The guy that was in all the old Western movies.
Yeah.
John Wayne.
Yeah.
No,
I'll have to look him up.
I'll have to look him up too.
Honorable
Master.
mention, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, you'd have gotten extra points if you put that one on there.
Yeah.
Okay, Peter Busch,
Nothing.
I'm still abstaining.
Mr. No Creativity. Like you could have literally put Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Matrix, all that stuff. Like you didn't.
I might get a point.
I just felt so I was so dejected after seeing the top 200 martial arts films, and I knew none of them. I'm like, I'm so unqualified to come up with anything here.
I think you've seen more than you think. I just didn't think you were thinking outside the box.
Fair enough. I should be docked a point.
You're not gonna be docked, but you're put on probation though.
I'm actually curious about Jake's list because I did like Pete's list.
Yeah, Jake's gotta. We'll see.
I've seen a lot of kung fu and martial arts movies. So, all right. So honorable mention, I put Enter the Dragon. I kind of went with like a theme of, because you guys are right. There are a lot of really good martial arts films, and to narrow it down is pretty tough. So I went with kind of like my favorite movies of like the iconic martial arts action film stars. So, so Enter the Dragon, Bruce Lee, the best and most popular movie. That's my honorable mention. Number 5, I went with Karate Kid because it's one of the only martial arts movies that I can think of off the top of my head that's actually about martial arts. Like a lot of these films are action movies with a lot of martial arts in them.
Right.
And the stories are not
like Karate Kid, best of the best.
Yeah. Number 4, I went with a movie called Iron Monkey, which is my favorite Donnie Yen movie.
Yeah.
Number 3, I also went Bloodsport. Because I mean, again, Bolo Young, Jean-Claude Van Damme. I mean, you can't really go wrong.
I mean, anytime you can like hit somebody in the stomach in slow-mo and just go
yeah, exactly.
for like 5 minutes straight.
Yeah.
And pull it off. Great.
Number 2, I went with a Jet Li movie called Fist of Legend.
Okay, right.
Which is awesome. Jet Li has a lot of really good movies, but that Fist of Legend is my favorite. It has like one of the most common story themes in martial arts movies, where he's like trying to avenge his former master.
Right.
So that's number 2, and number 1, Jackie Chan, Police Story, which is insane. Police Story is an insane movie, and he does his own stunts, and it's ridiculous. And they not only does he do his own stunts, but they have like 1,000 takes of it.
Yeah.
So they show the stunt. They just cut it, like they do it like 3 times, and they show it in slow motion, so you can literally see people's like bones breaking. It's
that was a great movie.
Watch it.
My number 5 is Bloodsport. That's the more popular one. My personal favorite is Death Warrant, but I'll put Bloodsport just because that's the more famous one. I love Death Warrant. Death Warrant was my favorite, Jean-Claude Van Damme. But I feel like, especially our age, like you have to include Jean-Claude Van Damme. I mean, this guy was
better than Time Cop.
Come on. I like
Lionheart.
Lionheart was like close. I think it's, for me, it's Death Warrant, Lionheart, and then Bloodsport. Because I think I was too young when Bloodsport came out, so I didn't see it as much as I did like the other Jean-Claude Van Damme.
But if you're not going to pick Bloodsport, then you would pick Kickboxer before you would pick that one. No,
but it's the same. I didn't get to see those movies when they first came out. So like Death Warrant is like one of the first ones I actually saw. and that I loved. Because remember, I'm younger. Those movies, I'm like 14 or 15 when those are coming out and they're rated R, you know? So blame my mom, Pete.
I'll talk to her.
Yeah. Number 4, Best of the Best. I mean, Pete and I are on the same page as that one. We used to watch that all the time.
I always wanted a ponytail.
Yeah.
That movie.
Number 3, and this is more just legendary status, but it's Enter the Dragon. It's Bruce Lee. I mean, he invented, you know, the martial arts film in terms of mainstream.
Yeah.
And
I don't know if
so
he invented it, but
for mainstream, like that's the most famous.
He is the most famous martial arts film
he
star.
certainly
Yes.
exploded the genre, but he certainly didn't invent it.
My number 2 is Seven Samurai, which is, you know, that's what spawned all the Magnificent Sevens. And, you know, it's one of the few foreign films that had such an impact in American cinema. And that, you know, generation to generation, it's so popular.
That's a good call. I didn't think about that one, but
That's a great call.
I think because it's like so much older than the rest of the movies that
and it's probably, like I said, the first one that really, I think, impacted American cinema. And then number 1 is Karate Kid, for the reason why we're doing this podcast. I mean, there's been no singular martial arts film that's impacted I mean, and had such an influence over an American audience. Like I said, we're on movie, there's 7 movies, I think. No, 6 movies. There's 6 movies.
Wow, I didn't know that.
5 seasons of Cobra Kai now. I mean, there's nothing in contention. So Karate Kid has to be number 1, mainly just influence. But again, we all are liking and watching it. So bunch of different lists. I liked parts of Pete's and Jake, but I like Jake's. Jake seems like he knows more pure martial arts film than the rest of us. And, you know, I'm going to appreciate, especially because Police Story was on a few lists that I saw. I haven't seen that one, but I like Jake's creativity. And so I'm going to give him the point on this one.
What a jip.
Pete Busch was a close second.
Yeah. I was
With no list.
I was a distant third, apparently.
Yeah. No. Honestly, I'm just not a huge Kill Bill fan, but I know it's got some great fight sequences in it.
Oh man, the kung fu in the movie is
put that number 1 is that's honestly, if you had any other number 1, I might have given you the point. I can't do Kill Bill for number 1.
Training sequences in Kill Bill and the fight sequences when they do kung fu is just Tarantino does a masterful job of paying homage to all of the great kung fu movies in the past.
But remember, you gave me this advice. That's a nice number 5 one. You had that number 5. Like if you put that 5 and put everything else 1 lower, I think you might have won.
Kill Bill 5. Sorry.
I agree with Paul.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just that's too strong for number 1. The greatest martial arts. I mean,
Yeah.
Okay.
It was so good they made 2 movies out of it.
So long.
And that's like, aren't those like his least successful films too? Like box office wise?
Are you crazy? Go look it up. So successful.
I mean, they're well liked. It's not my favorite, but it's so good. Anyways, all right, moving on to our next category. It's not your fault, Pete. It's not your fault.
Not
Pete,
you, man.
It's not your fault. But this is the most powerful scene that gets you emotional. And so we'll start with Jake Fenske here.
So I picked, I mean, it's got to be the ending, right? It's got to be everything from sweep the leg to the crane kick, because when he says sweep the leg and the music starts building up and you start getting all like pumped up. Oh, what an asshole. Let's cheat.
Yeah.
And then like the music starts building up. And then Daniel does the crane kick and he earns the respect finally. And, Johnny says, "You're all right, LaRusso." And then you got Sensei Kreese yelling in the background, "Finish him."
That's awesome. All right, Pete Busch, what do you got?
Similar, but I wanted to drill in on that scene. Like the moment I watched it twice last night, and like there's this one shot that's like over Johnny's shoulder looking back at Danny right before he does the crane kick, and the music's like da-na-na, and he peeks around behind, and he's got this look in his face like he's just about to like make greatness. And like that scene gets me so pumped because I know what's coming because we've all seen it.
Yeah.
And to me, the buildup is not as like big as the kick. The kick itself is actually pretty weak, like cinematography wise. It's the wide shot behind Jake. And all of a sudden he just kind of kicks him, and then like there's a whole fake fall. So the build up, and then all of a sudden you see it again. Like from the first time you saw it was amazing, but now every time you're on, you're like, oh, that's not as. He didn't really kick his ass, and like you just didn't buy it as much as like the rest of the choreography and the fighting. So, but that one moment I would say is where I got pumped up last watching it again.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean,
those are good. And to build on what both of you just said, not to give you guys points or anything like that, but I mean that's
stealing our ideas.
Yeah.
No. I'm actually adding to what you guys your points because my pick is different, but you know. That transition that you see, like all the Cobra Kai guys are so vicious, like throughout the whole movie, and during those sort of last sequences, is that you really see a change and a shift in all of their faces, where they're like really questioning, like Kreese, and they're like, "You serious? You want me to do this?" And then even Johnny's like, who's the star student? He's like, "Are you serious?" Like and everyone's just so.
Where's the line? Like. Yeah, you definitely see that look in all their eyes, like, dude, he has no line.
That was probably the more impactful part of those sequences. But yeah, I mean, how can you not go with that sort of finale? I mean, as the most emotional. So I mean, I will go in a different route because I had two. One of them was less sort of emotional, but it was really powerful for me, and it's when Daniel finally realized what it was that Miyagi was trying to teach him with all of the work that he was doing, and he sort of like finally got it, and it was that realization moment after the show me side to side, and he's like just starts punching him, and right at that moment when Daniel kind of just like, Miyagi like leaves, and he's sitting there, he's like, he just finally gets it at that time.
That was good.
It was a great moment. It's not my most emotional one. The most emotional one for me is when Daniel's laying on that bed after he had, gotten the knee, and he's out. And for the whole movie, he was talking about, fighting because, I want revenge, and he didn't quite get it. But his explanation to Miyagi why he wants him to fix him was that he's never going to have balance in his life if he doesn't go back out there and really show them how strong he is. I'm getting emotional right now just talking about it because I mean it's just a really powerful scene.
I don't think I ever fully understood what he was saying there because he kind of says it fast. But you're right. That's the one line I picked up on this viewing was like, I'll never get balance in my life if I don't go out there and fight.
And that was the point of it
all. The mom is like, oh, you did a good job, buddy. Like, we didn't think you were going to make it this far, and nobody thought he was going to make it that far, including Miyagi, including himself. But now that, like you're saying, he already gotten this, like that's already in the past. It's kind of like like when you upset a Sweet 16 team or something, you know what I mean? And you're on that ride, and it's like your barometer changes in terms of like what it's about, and it's about that moment, and the whole build up of entire time against these guys. Yeah, like. I never understood that line before until this viewing.
Combination of everything that he'd been going through, all of his training and all of his interactions with the Cobra Kai guys, and everything that everyone had been saying to him throughout that movie, even Miyagi, was that win, lose, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Everything doesn't matter as long as you do a good fight and blah blah blah. But Daniel came back and he was like, you don't understand. If I don't go back out there, I'll never get that balance that you've been training me for. So that was the most emotional.
Because he ultimately sold Miyagi, right? It's like, do that thing.
Finally, okay, cool.
And he's like, you're right.
I'll rock the hands.
Yeah. So I mean that was great. Mine was just the drunken Miyagi scene. Because like I said, like you really, at first he's just this wise mentor guy, and he never shows emotion. He never shows pain. And all of a sudden you see the guy you think is got everything going for him and has everything under control. He's lost it, and then he has his little ritual, and it's like, this is his one night a year when he literally lets loose all of his emotions, because especially like, you know, Okinawan culture, Japanese culture. I mean, we all know how stoic they are, and you dishonor, you fall on the sword thing, you know, like that's, you know, legend. But to just see him just go completely, just become vulnerable and let loose is, I think it's super powerful. I didn't think it was most powerful younger. I would say, you know, Jake and Pete, the ending scene, growing up, that's for sure, and it's still emotional, and that one gets you fired up every single time. The music
Every time.
is so good at the end. But
So good.
as an adult now, and understanding layers and depths, and you know, understanding dark moments more as a human being, you know,
Right.
again, for me, I think the drunken Miyagi scene now becomes a little bit more powerful for me in terms of pure, like I said, kind of unadulterated emotion.
You know, it showed not a human side, because that comes out wrong, but it showed some vulnerability in this very strong character. And you saw it in number 2 as well. Like, you finally, like, after his dad had died and they're just sitting there and Daniel sits down next to him, they're just staring out in the distance. And then, you know, Pat Morita's like, you know, he's got these tears coming out. Like, but you don't get these moments with Pat Morita where you really see sort of this sort of emotion. But yeah, that was one of a good one.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. I'm gonna go, and mainly because of explanation. I'm gonna go with Pete. I'm gonna go with Pete Escarcega on that one, just because.
Yeah, I agree on that.
Just more because of his explanation versus anything. And I think you pointed out something. Even our audience, like I said, I think we'll gain more from this.
That's what I do.
But I normally Jake and Pete almost had the point, but Pete kind of stole it from you guys there.
Really
So
give us
score right now. We have Jake 3, Pete E3, and Busch 2.
Come on, Jake.
Still anybody's ball game. Anybody's ball game.
You and me.
So our next category is Ma the Meatloaf.
Beat my leg, dude.
And this is the funniest or best scene that makes you feel good. So theoretically, your guys' scene could have also qualified for this one, because there's not a ton of just pure funny scenes. So this one is just kind of the most positive scene for you, I guess, is how I would define it. So I'm going to start with Peter Escarcega first.
Yeah, it's so funny you said that, because I wrote down, obviously, when he wins, like as like the best feel good moment. I mean, that's obvious, right? It's like,
let's exclude that. Let's exclude that scene.
Right. You know, the part I didn't go funniest, even though get him a body bag, like screaming that out, is like,
that's not the scene though. There's no funny scene.
Yeah, exactly. So I couldn't go with that. My best feel good moment is actually right after the scene that you talked about with the drunken Miyagi, because, you know, Daniel, like, all of a sudden he like understands everything and he gives him that bow. And then the next scene, the flute starts coming in from Bill Conti, and it's super energetic. And Daniel's training on his own. He's out there on the boat. He's out there trying horribly to do the crane kick on the post. And it's not a very long sequence. It's very short.
Yeah.
But it always charged me up. That music always
chill. Yeah, it gives you chills. The music, because
it always just gave me chills. That's mine.
The music kind of gives you strength in a weird way, because you, like you're saying, you everything's clicking now for Daniel. And then again, he doesn't need. So that's the point where he really doesn't need. He's not fully dependent on Miyagi now. Now it's like, okay, I've been given the lessons. Now I just need to apply the lessons. And again, it's a shift in his character. You know, because again, it's also like, I think it's when they really become like father son type of thing too, you know, because he basically knows what he's fighting for, and he knows what Miyagi's kind of fighting for and protecting in terms of the legacy. And again, it just the deeper seeds of karate really sinks in.
It's a huge life lesson. Like, you know, people can teach you all day, but you're never going to succeed until you take that sort of next step where you actually start taking that sort of initiative and start doing things on your own and pushing yourself on your own, and not having somebody screaming at you to train over and over again. Like, that was when he decided at that moment that he's going to, be the champion. Thank you.
So really the big life lesson that this movie is trying to teach you is, if you're a teacher or a parent, the best way you can teach your pupil is to get hammered and kind of reveal all your deep and dark secrets, and then they'll take the next step and grow from there. So that's the biggest takeaway.
That's why my daughter's so successful.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Peter Busch, what do you got?
So a little out of left field, but in watching it again, it was the golf and stuff, like date night.
Yeah.
Like, because there's this great montage, the song, like you start to remember what it was like to like pursue a girl that you like in high school.
Yeah.
And you're going to the cool spot to hang out with your friends and get her attention.
Yeah, for sure.
And one of the things that was kind of interesting watching it again is that he was never really not confident with her until Johnny's character starts kissing her. Like the whole time that when he sees her on the beach, he's like trying to get her attention. He's very direct with her. He's very open. He's very confident. And then when they start dating, like it's sort of like you're starting to date a girl you really like, and then you go and do fun stuff together. And like that whole montage, they're playing air hockey and like all of that. And that scene just makes you feel good remembering what that felt like in high school.
Yeah, for sure.
And like,
I agree.
So and you know what even adds to it. Well, and Pete probably relates this. Escarcega and I probably relate this more because golf and stuff is like 15 minutes away from where we grew up.
Right.
So golf and stuff is like a real place that you can go to. So you watch this movie when we're young, and you're like, oh well, dude, this you got to if you want to meet a girl, like you got to go to golf and stuff, you know. So like I remember going to golf and stuff with girls that I liked and was interested in, and you know, you're thinking just like you're saying, the magic's going to happen here because Daniel and Allie had such a great time here. Like I must have a good time here, you know.
Yeah.
It was always just like triple.
Just to be clear, I never went to golf and stuff with anybody who looked like this.
Didn't have Danny's swagger.
I didn't have that sort of New Jersey sort of, mojo at all.
Swag. Yeah.
Okay, Jake, what do you got?
Nice. Yeah, I went a similar direction as Busch. One of my favorite scenes, I think it's kind of an underrated scene because it's scene between Danny and Allie are just kind of like finally opening up to each other and thinking like, oh, we're into each other. So it's the scene where they're in a cafeteria and Allie walks up and Danny's like trying to give her the slice of pie or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he's they're talking about Johnny and he's looking up at this guy and he goes, yeah,
What?
No. It's this voice in my head that's saying it must be a yo-yo for talking to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's like, because it's, I mean, just like Pete said, it's like we all know what it's like to be kind of awkward, but you have a crush on someone and you're not sure how to approach it. And it's like you finally realize that they like you too. And you want to
it's a game changer.
Forward. It's a game changer. You want to move forward with setting something up. So
absolutely.
I don't know if it was intentional, but he buys her lunch and she doesn't even acknowledge it.
Yeah.
She doesn't even say thanks. She's like, yeah, I got hers too. Just like move on.
Hey, you want some pie? Have some milk. Here's some. And by the way, like, what are they feeding these kids for lunch? It's like a hot dog without a bun.
Well, what I know
it's like a big pile of
see what's on his
sour
plate?
cream or like what is that?
It's not even a meal.
Or sauerkraut.
Well, what I know is too, like, so he said like 2 lunches, right? And so typically, like one lunch was one price. So it was like $3.50.
Yeah.
Or it was $2.50. And then he's like 2 lunches, and it was like $3.75.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that picked up the same thing.
Math.
Not only does it's not even 2 of the same, and then he picked it up, and she's just like, "Oh, okay, let's go."
Yeah,
I would have thank you.
Yeah,
thank you would be nice.
Great. It's always so like, to Jake's point, like when you both finally realize that you like each other. I don't know if you guys experienced this, but I did 100%. It still didn't change how I approached and talked to the girl. I was still nervous as hell.
Yeah, you're still nervous and awkward.
Time, even like that first kiss, like she likes me, but I still, there's no way I'm gonna push forward with this because she's, I'm gonna get rejected or whatever it is, man. Like, this movie really does remind you of what it was like to like first like a girl and actually get to that moment where she likes you back, and it was a frightening time. It was so bad. So bad.
So my scene's really just a quick moment, but It's like right before the championship, and this is obviously like we last saw him on the training table, and then I just remember like we think obviously he's not going to do the thing, and then all of a sudden they're like, and we're about to announce Johnny Lawrence, and Dan Alurs is going to find it, ding, just has like that big kick in music, and it's just like you literally, I don't know, it's still like, even still, just it's like, and then the music right after that, just like it's super picks up. But
Chills.
I don't know if that really qualifies for this category, and it doesn't matter since I don't get points anyway. So, but that's just a moment that for me, again, just kind of draws up extra emotion. So I'm gonna give Pete Busch the point on this one.
Oh,
Good one.
I really liked his explanation, and
I would have given it to Jake, but I'll take it.
wow, it's like you don't want to win.
You already gave it to me. I already got it.
You don't do lists. You're actually
fine. I'll take the
promoting
point.
other
God.
people.
The anti-guest award goes to Peter Busch.
Yeah, mine was okay, but his was better.
I mean, we could be democratic about it and just all get a point.
Now, Pete, you remind me of
Because
the.
I like Escarcega's.
Pete reminded me just now of. You guys ever see Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the Alan Rickman robot, where he's just like, I could tell you guys something, but it doesn't matter. Like, he's just always like just such a like bummer. He's like, yeah, I like mine, but Jake's is better.
Yeah.
Every time. Poor guy. Poor Pete.
All right, next category is line please. And I mean, this is his best quote. So I'll give you, I know Jake and Pete for sure will have 75 quotes. So
I've got 90.
I'll give you 2 quotes that you can use as your accepted bid.
Oh, I just got one.
I just got one. I just got one, and I have an underrated line. I guarantee it is not on any of your guys' lists.
Oh yeah.
All right, so I think we're starting. Who are we starting with? Jake now?
Sure, I can go.
Okay, Jake.
Go.
I'm gonna go. Well, I quote this line a lot, but it's just because I know the movie so well. But
Okay.
I think I would say it's probably underrated compared to the majority of the population. But when Daniel first commits to training with Miyagi, and Miyagi goes, Daniel must talk. Daniel-san must talk. Walk on road, right side safe, left side safe.
Oh yeah.
Walk middle, sooner or later, squish, just like grape. Because I think it just highlights
That's the theme.
It's the theme of the movie. I mean, it's like it's the commitment that he needs to be the best. It's the commitment he needs to get respect from the bullies, and the commitment he needs to make peace with his, and with moving to being a new person and moving to a new place, and ultimately finding that balance. So I think it's a good summary of what the movie is.
Wow, Jake.
One line.
Really selling it.
Wow, Jake. Geez, just mic dropping that.
My line is not even.
It's
deep like that.
Let's go, Pete Busch here. Let's see what Pete's got.
So I thought this was interesting on the rewatch. I pulled this one out. So at the end of this scene I just described, when they're dating, and he just got Miyagi's whatever that car is.
Yeah.
And he shows Elisabeth Shue, and he says, "Yeah, you want to drive it?" And she gets in. She says, I wrote it down. Said, "You want me to drive?" And his response was, "Hey, it's the 80s."
Yeah, yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
And I picked up, I was like, wait a minute, like in early 80s, like women driving or your girlfriend driving was like somewhat unheard of, or like a little like, cutting edge or something. Like, it was really interesting. I was like, wow, okay, because they kept it in. It was like just naturally. You don't even see him say it because like the car's so far away. But I'm like,
no, I mean, Jake and Pete would always used to say that line between each other. Like, I mean, it would be something completely different.
He was so progressive.
Exactly. That's a good word for it.
I mean, I always took it to mean not that she's a woman, but that she is underage and shouldn't be allowed to drive,
or that it's a new car and
I think she's
didn't want
older
her.
than Daniel.
Or was he saying? But he said, "Hey, it's the 80s." That's what threw me off. Because if she just left it with, "You want me to drive this new car of yours that's like this beautiful car," that's a thing. But when his response was, "Well, yeah, it's the 80s. Of course you can drive now." Like, I'm like,
no,
wow.
100%.
That's how I took it. I was like, okay, well, that's definitely like putting this movie in a different perspective for the time it was made.
Yeah, because
So funny.
Jake would ask Pete, like, "Hey, Pete, can you go grab that piece of paper on the copier machine?" And Pete would go, like, "What is this, the 80s?"
I said that. I don't remember that.
I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but you would use that line all the time.
Oh,
That one, or was it what is that, karate?
oh man.
Oh, sorry, did I spoil yours?
Way to kill the competition, Jake Fenske.
Let me go pick a new one real fast. That was my favorite quote because it's the quote I always say all the time. Hey, what was that, like karate?
Well, you even had Freddie Fernandez as your background before you.
Oh, I know. Should I change it back?
Yeah.
No.
Well, not if you're going to switch your quote up.
No. So if I'm not going to go with that one,
Here, why don't I tell you mine? You can keep looking. You can keep looking.
no, I know it.
Because you're
The
not
other one that I always
I don't see this
quote all
as
the
it's
time
not
was,
point worthy.
"Put you little bastard, ain't you?" But I like that.
Yeah,
I like that. You know, it's
Yeah,
one of the best lines ever.
yeah.
That was
Jake
good.
ruined my fucking life.
Jake totally just crushed his opponent with that one. That's a good move, Jake. Very,
I was
very
about to
sneaky.
get a point, and you just undercut me.
I mean, it
He
just
swept the leg. He swept the leg.
yeah.
totally
I'm
swept
sorry.
my leg.
I mean, you do say that a lot, though. So
Yeah.
I mean, it just highlights the fact that you appreciate the quote.
Hey, what is that, karate? Like, what the fuck do you think it was?
So my favorite was oh, I can't even read my writing.
Yeah.
Oh, what belt do you have? And Mr. Miyagi like, oh, canvas, JCPenney, $3.99. I was just like, oh, it's such a good line. It just obviously showed his humor off. But okay, well, Jake Fenske gets the point easily on that one for not only coming up with the greatest explanation for his quote, but then also savaging his opponent to make sure that he had zero chance to
attack.
Just got crane kicked.
Another great line is when Daniel's talking about Allie and he's just like, buries Judy in a second.
Buries Judy?
Judy. Like, I'd never heard that saying before Karate Kid, and I always used it afterwards.
It's what? Say that one more time. I don't even think I picked it.
Somebody's cuter than somebody else. Like, oh, she buries Judy in a second.
Oh, I've never.
Yeah. I'm with Paul.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that one.
And the mom is like,
she buries Judy.
Buries her. Like, digs a grave, puts her inside, it puts dirt on top of her.
Oh, I understand what you're saying.
The alley.
Yeah, because that's his ex-girlfriend or something like that.
Yeah, Judy.
Okay. So
Sorry,
updated
Judy.
Score. Jake just took the lead with 4.
I think I'm still in 4th.
Peter and Pete both have 3 each. So again, anybody's ball game still. And we really just have one. Oh, we have 2 more categories left. So the last one is director's chair. So, these are what are simple and or logistical changes that you can make that would actually make sense. Obviously, you can't rewrite the script per se, but what are some things that you could do that you would do to improve this film? Pete, we'll start with you. You want to smash Jake before you start?
Me, Pete?
Yeah.
There's really only 2 things I would change about this film. First of all, this is more of a throwaway, but the way Daniel kisses Allie finally it's so gross. Like, I would retake that.
It's like very gross.
Smothering her.
The way he just jams his tongue down her throat, it's so gross. The way he would violate my girl like that, it was always uncalled for. I don't like it one bit. But the thing that I would actually change about the fight, about the film, is after like Miyagi saves Daniel and he like does a couple of kicks and throws people on the ground, like the next shot, like the long shot, is like all of these guys just writhing around in pain for like what seems like 5 minutes. And it's like he didn't really do that much to them to warrant that much pain. Like, maybe change that up a little bit. That I would change that, because that always bothered me, that Miyagi just kind of kicked them a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely didn't fit. Didn't fit the crime per se.
Like,
yeah,
it's like, come on.
Yeah. Okay, Pete Busch, what do you got?
I would add another scene on the end of the whole film. Like watching this again, from the crank kick to like the freeze frame on Miyagi is like it's like 40 seconds.
Dude, it's the
right?
fastest ending ever.
It just wraps it up, and all of a sudden, then Johnny's just like, "Hey, here's the trophy. You know, you're okay, Russo." And it's like all this stuff comes resolved like too much. I feel like you could have added one more scene.
That's all you need, though.
Well, and
I just that I would have added something like, you know, the whole relationship with his mom, like from the beginning, right? The whole setup in the beginning is like, I want you to like California and like fit in, belong. There was that never was brought up again. Like he's got the girl that's there for him. I feel like you could have done one more scene. But to Jake's point, I don't know how you then end the film, because it does end on the freeze frame, and it was nice there. But I would have added another scene. I think there was some more content you could pull out of that.
I actually agree with you. It definitely felt like somebody said movie has to end like in a minute, and it was the fastest fade to black I've ever seen in my life. It was so fast paced that didn't even match like the music. It was really weird. I did read. Hold on, Pete. Hold on. Finish. I did read that the beginning scene of Karate Kid 2 was actually supposed to be the ending, and I do kind of like that. I don't know. You still would need something after that, but I do kind of like that as a kind of a epilogue a little bit.
I don't know if I agree with that, because it starts like a whole new conflict between. I mean, where it ends right now is it ends with Daniel earning respect from the Cobra Kai, and that's really all you need. Once he gets out of the All Valley tournament and Sensei Kreese starts punching windows, it's like there's a whole new story opening up there.
Yeah, but they're not in the second one. I mean, it's like an empty story, because all it does is cut to 8 months later after that, and then Allie's at UCLA.
You see it, but I don't even know like you need to go that far. I would have done a scene like where they're like walking out of the school, and then like there's some mini conversation between Johnny and Danny that like he earned his respect a little bit more, and then unpacks it, and you see Johnny realize that Kreese is an ass or whatever is there, and then he looks over at Miyagi, and then you do the freeze frame. Like I'm not talking this whole, you know, opening up a big can of worms and new storylines. No, you just don't do the first freeze frame. You just cut to them walking out with his trophy to his car. And they're like, they run into each other in the parking lot, and they have this nice conversation. And then he looks back, and it was like Miyagi like made this all worth it or whatever. Right. I just feel like you could have done something there that slowed down that ending a little better.
That would have ruined the film.
Yeah,
that's why I didn't direct it.
I like your premise, because I agree with you. I
agree with the premise.
The ending's clunky. Your really cheesy high school family ending there when they shake hands at the end. I don't know about that, but
it's not really what I said. But
I actually don't know if it was Jake or you just said it, but it could have been with the mom. It could have been him smiling, or maybe they're at lunch together with Allie, and it's just, again, kind of they're happy, or I don't know, but
too much.
It needs something like the ending. Like I said, it literally went from like the middle of the climax scene to just it's the credits, and it's like
you got Miyagi doing a sweet like head nod where he goes,
yeah. Well, and initially it was supposed
on that. That's fine.
It was supposed to end with them lifting him up, right? And it was supposed to end on that, and they added the Mr. Miyagi shot after that, apparently. So again, it was just really fast. I'm with Pete on that one. You could have slowed down a little bit, but okay, Jake, what do you got?
Point worthy.
You just have Daniel
pretty point worthy
fronting with Johnny, being like, "In your face."
Yeah.
In your face.
In your face.
Fuck your couch.
Okay, so my answer is going to be probably a little polarizing. I think might garner some hate here, but a scene that we have not talked about yet, but is one of the most iconic scenes in the movie, which is the chopstick fly catching scene.
All right.
Has no story relevance to it, and
so what?
I would think about cutting that out.
Cut it out.
Yeah.
What?
Think about it though. All of us have watched the movie 1,000 times. Not one of us has mentioned it yet, and it does nothing to push the story forward.
You're right.
And at that point, Mr. Miyagi is still supposed to be like the teacher and the mentor guy.
Well, I think that's the point of the story is it's levity. I think the point is it's levity for Mr. Miyagi, because at this point, everything he teaches, everything he's been like perfect. And it's kind of the first, like, okay, he's not perfect. Like, and then, Daniel just comes in and beats him on it. And so it's just, it makes you, it to see Mr. Miyagi look like, it sounds like he's been trying for the rest his whole life, and to just have him come in real quick, it's, kind of a slap in the face. So it's definitely comedic relief is the point of it, but I'm with you character-wise, story-wise, it doesn't.
Oh, it's a sign of what's to come. He can now accomplish anything. Like, he is against all odds at this point in the movie. There's no way. He's about a week into training against all of these people who've been doing karate for years and years and years, and they're like really good. And then all of a sudden, he can accomplish anything because it kind of.
Yeah, but you're like pulling that out. Like, all the other scenes he learned from Miyagi correlates directly to karate. Like, I'm with Jake. Cut it out.
That's ridiculous.
Just done.
That's like saying, well, why don't we take out the shot in Jurassic Park, the iconic shot of the water rippling in the cup, because it doesn't add.
Or like taking out the volleyball scene.
It's one of the more iconic.
Yeah, you totally could cut the volleyball scene.
You can't even compare the two. The volleyball scene. Out of here.
Well, I mean, the good news is, like, none of you guys are directing this film, because we'd lost a lot out of this.
Kissing Alley was pretty gross.
Yeah, I mean, so there was two things that still bug me to this day. Is definitely the ending. Again, it's literally one of the worst fade outs in the history of cinema.
All right, Pete's
I've never.
It's like M. Night, like wrapping up a movie.
Dude, it's just like, okay, we're done. I mean, you could have spaced that out just a little bit, but all right. And then my second one is, and I believe this even back when I was younger, but the guy in the semifinal, I think his name is David Duvall or something like that. But he was like an actual real like martial artist, and he grew up and still owned like dojos the whole nine. And he's the guy doing all like the flip kicks and all this stuff.
Yeah, that guy, he's the guy who's like legit good.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the whole thing.
And then like when it gets to Johnny's battle, it was just I didn't like that. It was just so one-sided. I wanted to see an actual battle. Like, if these guys are facing, like, sometimes a semifinal is just as good as the championship. Like, I wanted to see, especially because they did with Bobby and Daniel, like that was just kind of a, it was a DQ, right? But I wanted to see like Johnny go against this guy and actually like be a little bit of a battle. Like this guy was too good to be eliminated on 2 points directly. Like it was just like, he did all that just for nothing, like and then point, and he wins. It's like,
I know what you're saying. I felt the same way. I always thought that he looked the coolest out of everybody, and for him to go out that way was pretty quick.
Yeah, I want it. It's like Darth Maul, like Darth Maul in Phantom Menace. You know what I mean? It's like he comes out, you're like, oh crap, like this is legit.
Two lightsabers.
Yeah, and then it just like cuts him in half. You're like, oh, okay.
Oh, he's done.
Yeah.
Great.
That would be those were mine. So, all right. Well, since Pete actually picked the one that I picked, I'm gonna Busch. I'm gonna give Busch the point on this one.
Come on.
So it's Jake and Pete Busch are tied at 4.
Who's in third?
Daniel's tongue out of Allie's mouth is the clear winner. Yeah.
Apparently, Paul liked that scene. So,
yeah.
So gross.
Okay. So we have our last thing here, and that is last list. Here is our top 5 Elisabeth Shue movies.
Okay.
So we started with Pete on the last one, right? So Jake, you're going to start.
Okay.
You literally have had Jake start like every category.
Yeah,
I thought I'd been rotating, no?
No, not at all. But it's fine.
Then Peter Escarcega
go for it. Yeah, somebody else can go. I mean, this list shouldn't vary a whole lot because I would think we'd all pick mostly the same ones. But.
Yeah.
But Pete claims that he's got a.
No, I don't. It's funny that you're like, let's rotate again, and Jake goes first. When you watch the edit, you'll see.
Yeah, right.
All right.
Go ahead, Jake.
Okay. Number 5, Back to the Future 2. Number 4, Leaving Las Vegas.
Okay.
Number 3, A Cocktail.
Oh.
And Number 2, Adventures in Babysitting.
Yeah.
And number 1, Karate Kid.
Okay.
Right.
Good list. Good list.
Beautiful.
Peter Busch, what do you have?
Similar. I got number 5, Adventures in Babysitting. Number 4, Karate Kid. Number 3, Back to the Future 3. Number 2, Back to the Future 2. And number 1.
She's in Back to the Future 3 for like a minute.
Seconds. Yeah.
She's still amazing. I love that series. That's my favorite franchise.
If there was maybe the worst order you could possibly put these movies in, Pete Busch, you figured out. You cracked the code on it.
I didn't even give you number 1 yet.
It doesn't matter.
All right, I'm going to leave it at that.
All right, what's your number 1?
Cocktail.
All right. Jeez, that was rough to listen to.
I just like saying cocktail.
Yeah, me too.
All
Cocktail.
right, Peter Escarcega.
How do they say it in Beverly Hills Cop?
Cocktail.
Was it like a
Cocktail.
cocktail?
Yeah.
Lemon twist.
Lemon twist is good. You should try.
It's good. You should try.
Yeah. Oh man, I could do that scene all day. I went number 5, Leaving Las Vegas, because it was like all serious and shit, and it was really good. Number 4, I combined the Back to the Futures because it's not really like a role that she really did. It was just kind of a bunch of little things, but she was super cute as always. And
She had a pretty decent part in the second one. I mean,
The second
half the movie was about her.
one's an actual role.
Yeah.
you know, whatever.
Third one is super arguable that it's a role.
She
That,
was only in the third one because she was in the second one.
Right.
Yeah, but so was Michael J. Fox was only in the second one because he's in, or in the third one because he's in the second one. Then
tell that to the
argue with
first
this whole
actress.
water.
Tell the first actress that who didn't make the cut on the second one.
Yeah.
She was in the
Jennifer's
first
hot.
one.
Jennifer was hot.
Yeah.
Not as hot as Elisabeth Shue. How dare you?
All right, what do you got, Pete?
Number 3, I put The Saint, because one of my favorite scenes is when Val Kilmer's like freezing to death and she has to keep him warm and takes off her shirt and lays on top of him. And it's lovely. And that's why that is number 3 on the list. Number 2 is Adventures in Babysitting, because I mean, it was my dream to always have her as my babysitter. And the idea that she could also be a Playboy playmate would have been just like, for my, both heads would have exploded. And then number 1 for me, obviously, is the Karate Kid. Karate Kid was the first time I saw her, and I instantly fell in love and have loved her ever since. Beautiful list. Perfect.
That's a great one. Saint's a good call.
Yeah. So here, my top 5.
Thank you.
Back to the Future 2, number 5. Number 4, I put Cocktail. Number 3, I put Leaving Las Vegas. Just because that was probably her, like, really her most challenging role, right? Number 2, I put Karate Kid. And because number 1, Adventures of Babysitting, I mean, she's the star. Versus in Karate Kid, she's not the star. Adventures of Babysitting, that was her vehicle. And she absolutely crushed it and showed she could carry a film. And, you know, right from the get-go with her dancing on the bed and singing.
And they walked up to me and he asked me if I wanted to dance. Yeah, that scene pumps me up.
Yeah. So that's why I put that number 1. So
best
Jake
openings
Fenske,
of all time.
It's the win here.
Oh,
You
okay.
got the win?
Okay.
Jake
All right.
Fenske. We literally had the same list.
What?
His 1 and 2 were different than me, but we had the same 5 films.
What about the Saint? Come on, with the
No,
taking the shirt.
I think I barely saw the Saint, so that one's tough. But you had a good list. You beat Pete Busch on this list.
Wasn't good enough.
Not good enough.
So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we have a winner.
That's so
Okay.
funny that Paul's like, hey, Pete, that was a pretty good list, and then Jake's like, yeah, good and terrible.
Actually, I really like The Saint. I think it was a good movie.
Too bad.
Yeah, that was like 6. The other one that was like right there for me was Trigger Effect. And I thought she was pretty good in that too.
I think Elisabeth
cute
Shue
role.
is at her peak
had a
in
cute role
Adventures
in-
in Babysitting and Cocktail. I think that's like
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
She had a cute role in Curb Your Enthusiasm too. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
yeah.
Okay, so Jake Fenske, you are our winner And with that, you get to select what our next film. What film would you like us to review?
I know what he's gonna pick. Go ahead, just say it.
Write it down and then show it.
I don't have a pen.
Yeah, this
okay, just say it. It'll be an honorable.
Okay. Say it. Just do it.
Die Hard?
Close.
Yeah,
I'm actually.
Don't do Die Hard.
Wow. Busch, I was going to throw Busch a bone here, and I was going to say, let's do Back to the Future.
Damn it. Did I ruin it? I do Back to the Future all day.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Well, I think we already have that on the list. The other winner, she selected that one. So if you want to do another one.
Home Alone?
I want to be a part of that episode.
Home Alone 2. Yeah.
I want to be a part of the Back to the Future episode.
Why don't we try to convince the ladies to do a different one? No?
Possibly.
We could do
pick another one, and then if we switch.
Well, since Busch doesn't want to do Die Hard, how about let's do one of our action movies that we agreed on, which is Predator.
We can do Predator. I don't even think I've seen it. I gotta watch that.
What?
I don't think I've seen the full thing. I think I've seen bits of it.
Right now?
I don't think I ever sat through and watched it.
God.
I wasn't allowed to watch it when it came out.
Well, you're old enough now.
You're allowed to watch it now.
Oh, okay. I'll get
watch it now.
I'll get permission.
We should do that episode just so you can watch the movie.
Yeah,
it'll be like a legit first reaction.
Hold on a second. Hey, Mom, is it okay if Paul watches Predator this weekend?
Yeah,
can you turn off the parental controls so I can watch Predator?
Yeah, I'm gonna need some hookups, guys.
Oh my God, it's R-rated.
Yeah, all right, guys. Well, thank you guys for joining. We'll get the next movie official. So I'll check with Dominique Pete and see if she has another one to select.
Yeah, I would prefer to do Back to the Future if we can.
Okay.
I would. That is my favorite movie of all time.
Really? So we'll get positive. Pete.
I wrote a paper on it in college. I enjoyed it so much. I did an in-depth analysis of the script.
I wrote an unofficial paper on it that nobody's ever read because nobody gives a shit. But it's like one of my all-time favorite movies.
You did? Oh, okay. Yeah, and there's a book, guys. If you want to, there's a book on the making of it too.
They made a book out of that?
Well, like the making of. Pete, we have it. It's on our Kindle account. Called like Back in Time or something like that.
We should do Die Hard though at some point.
Yeah, I want to do this.
I mean, we got more. So, all right, guys. Well,
Freddie Fernandez.
Yeah. Thanks. Well, thank you
Go
guys
watch
for joining.
Police Story, everyone. Watch Police Story.
Yes.
You sold me on it.
Okay, Police Stories for you martial arts.
And just remember, those are real stunts.
Check out Police Story with Jackie Chan. If you haven't seen the original episode with both Peter Busch and Jake Fenske, the original Top Gun, check that out. That was our first podcast. And then obviously make sure you guys like and subscribe. Comment below who you think won today's.
Smash that like button.
Smash that like button. Do the whole nine. Make sure you subscribe. We need the support.
And kick the like button.
And comment your lists as well. We want to know what your top.
We want to hear your lists.
As well.
Or you can abstain like Pete.
Yeah, just beat my Elisabeth Shue list because it's impossible.
Yeah, can someone come up with the worst list of Elisabeth Shue films and Pete Busch? That'd be great. All right, guys.
Watch Back to the Future 3.
All right, guys. Till next time. And cut. See you guys.